Greetings from Seoul, Korea, and welcome to WCS here at GOMTV.net. I'm Tasteless, and with me is Artosis. How's it going, man?
It's going really well. Very happy that you are here, Tasteless, and a big cheers to our audience full of Canadians today.
Yeah, guys, thank you for coming down. Welcome. I think it's going to be a really fun day today. Dude, we could not ask for a better Final Four.
You literally could not figure out a better one because we have 3 of the top 4 of GSL that just finished last week, which, of course, that's the hardest term in the whole world. So to have those 3 there is awesome, and they're actually on the same sides of the bracket as they were before. And then, of course, we have a little guy named MVP who's coming to show that they're lucky that he went to Europe.
You know what I love about this? Okay, so you're right. We just finished up GSL Code S. 3 of the Final 4 players here are here again. And to make this really even more interesting, we got MVP, the best Wings of Liberty player, easily, hands down. Yeah. That's an uncontested fact.
And now he's here ready to show, hey, I'm the best HOTS player too. And he definitely can do it. If he wins this, it actually is just like, calm down, youngins. MVP's still around. He's still winning all the money.
Yeah, it's so cool because we were talking about this in the Code S finals. Are the Wings of Liberty guys going to be as good as they were? Are they going to stay as good here in Heart of the Swarm? And initially in the Code S finals, I was saying it doesn't look like it. It looks like the Kespa players now a much more dominant force. And is it going to stay that way? Well, it very well may. But with MVP being here, this makes everything different. If MVP wins this today, it really says a lot about these new Heart of the Swarm players that we have.
It certainly does, Tasteless. But you got to remember, MVP, he was a Kespa player before StarCraft 2.
That is true.
He was a Terran player who got top 4 in OSL and StarCraft 1. So he knows how to play, man. He comes from that same environment, and he's the number one guy that really brought his skills over to StarCraft 2 in full force.
Absolutely. For those of you guys that are a little new to StarCraft 2 esports, the Kespa players were the ones who stuck with StarCraft 1. These are all the StarCraft 1 guys. StarCraft 2 comes out, so there's this massive exodus of StarCraft 1 players that immediately switch over to StarCraft 2, MVP being one of them. And then StarCraft 1 stays around for a little while longer. Eventually, StarCraft 1... it retires itself. We actually went to the last live StarCraft 1 tournament to see that. That was really awesome. And then when StarCraft 1 ended, that's when the StarCraft 2 guys, the StarCraft 1 guys all switched over then to StarCraft 2. So this is really interesting. MVP, and I know we have a lot of new viewers since Heart of the Swarm came out. MVP, we called him the Game Genie Terran. This guy was unstoppable. I would say easily the best player in the world in a best of 5 or a best of 7.
Yeah, and probably still is. But can he carry that through? He's going to be playing against Innovation, who's basically just considered the best Terran in the entire world right now.
Yeah,
can he beat him in a TVT? And you know what? I think that there's actually a decent chance because Innovation, he does still like the bio-type play a lot in TVT. We're not sure exactly what he's going to pull out here. He can do anything. But MVP has favored mech a lot in Wings of Liberty, and then in Heart of the Storm as well. He does have those wrist problems, and he's always been very good at it. So definitely he has a shot there.
Yeah, you make a great point. Another thing to keep in mind is, interestingly enough, and this was not the case in StarCraft 1, MVP had the proclivity to cheese a lot more than these players that we would see otherwise being champions. I mean, look at that game against Squirtle back in the older Code S days in Wings of Liberty. The guy does a double proxy racks in the final round to actually make himself absolutely the most unstoppable player of all time in Wings.
Yeah, he certainly was, Tasteless. Almost had 6 GSL championships. Very close to that. Like, that close. Should have at least 5. Really should have 6. And here he is. If he wins this, it's just going to be funny. I think it was Idra said, if MVP wins this, we should just end StarCraft 2. He'd be like, all right, MVP won. Okay, it was a great game. Because he certainly would have proven himself that much.
Now, keep in mind, if you did not miss, or if you did miss the Code S finals, first of all, you were messing up entirely. I don't know how you could miss that. But if you did, it was an interesting situation. Innovation up 3 games, then lost the next 4. We don't really ever have finals.
There's never
like
been
that.
A reverse all kill.
Yeah.
It hasn't happened before.
Whether it's in GSL or anywhere else, it basically doesn't happen.
Well, look, we might end up seeing that exact same final again. We've been talking all about MVP, but Innovation and Soulkey are the best 2 in the world right now, and they might just go right up to that finals again, hit each other. And who knows? Could we see another reverse all kill? Yeah, it's a possibility.
And of course, we also can't count out SOS. I mean, Soulkey and SOS had such an incredibly close semifinal match.
Yeah.
I really thought that SOS was going to go up. I actually think SOS, frankly, had a better chance of beating Innovation in the finals, but Soulkey barely eked out that win. So SOS, I would say, the best PvT in the entire world.
He might end up taking it today. Who knows? That is a possibility. A lot of people kind of counting him out already, but he has a chance. I would say every player here actually has a chance to win. But MVP, I would be the most surprised if he won, which is a hilarious thing to say.
Guys, get out there, start tweeting about the WCS. Tell your friends to tune in here at GOMTV.net. These games are going to be absolutely incredible. I can't believe that by the end of today, we will have crowned a champion.
Yes, that's kind of crazy. A lot of money on the line, $40,000 to first place in this tournament.
It's about enough money to motivate MVP to win a tournament. So.
That's right around what
Is
he
that
needs.
about 13% more of my prize pool that I've already made? All right, that's worth getting out of bed and showing up
here. If it's some little podunk prize pool, 5K or something, he's like, I could take it or leave it. Whatever. This doesn't really change my bottom line, but 40K certainly will. So we'll see if he can power through to that.
Now, you got to remember, with MVP here, a lot of pressure on this guy to win. A lot of the Wings of Liberty guys saying, all right, you should win this for us. Because right now the Kesma players, obviously I'm talking about the ones that most recently switched over during the death of Starcraft 1. They want to prove that they've still got what it takes. So the Kesma players were not that much better than them.
Well, MVP is the perfect person for them to elect to do so. As you see, it was actually a very one-sided round of 8. 3-1 from Soulkey, 3-0 from SOS. I personally casted that series, and that was really one-sided. I didn't get to see a live versus Innovation yet, but a 3-0, kind of as expected. And MVP lost the first game to 4GG, and then it was like, wait a minute.
Now, I caught the Innovation Alive games, and Innovation was just on another level.
Yeah.
It was one of those things where it's almost like you just have to expect Alive to cheese because your odds of beating him in a cheese are so much better than in a straight-up game. So this is going to be crazy.
Right now, we can take a look at the current rankings overall. Tied for second place in WCS. So far is Soulkey. Of course, these numbers are going to mean a lot more in a few months here when we have a lot more WCS points in the pool overall. SOS there in 5th place, and you can see their point countdowns right there and how they got to where they are, who they beat on the path as well. Pretty hard way for all of them, really. Look at that. He took out Symbol, he took out Liquid Hero, and
by the way,
Alicia.
That Hero game where he did the proxy racks at the at his opponent's entrance.
Oh yeah, the proxy.
That was so cool.
That was cool. You just blocked him right in. He's like, "Well, you're not going to send me.
You can't counterattack me with a zealot. Like, I could lose if you did that." So that was
like
a really cool series to watch. So this is going to be a lot of fun. And by the way, can I just take a moment to say it is so weird to be casting in the GOM studio and actually be able to hear myself in the studio. We've been casting here at GOM for, was it on 3 years now?
It's been a while, yeah.
It's been a while.
About 3 years.
We're always in the background normally, as I'm sure you guys have probably seen before. But, foreign StarCraft 2 is getting so popular now that...
even in Korea.
Yeah, even in Korea. We have a foreigner-only audience. It's very early in the morning here. It's 10 a.m.
Yeah,
but
cheers to you guys.
Thank you guys for showing up. It's really awesome for you guys.
Has to be the jet lag, right? Like
it's got to. Yeah, that's right. It's got to be the jet lag.
Oh my God, I'm on Canadian time still. Well,
so this is really cool. And we're going to be here all day, so please stay tuned in. These matches are going to be absolutely incredible. And Artosis, you've been casting a lot the last few days. How are you feeling, man?
I'm feeling like I've been casting a lot in the last few days, and I'm glad that you're here to help relieve my voice.
I'm happy to be here. I'm really excited for these matches. We actually had a late night last night. We ended up going overtime on World of Tanks, so we had to rush home, conk out, and then wake up to get down here. And this is going to be, I think, one of the funnest casting days in my entire career because these games are so good. We just got out of that Code S Finals. It's going to be incredible.
Well, it looks like we are ready, Tasis. We're in the first map, so let's get right in there.
All right, over here in the upper left, we have our Zerg player, and he is...
Woongjin Star Soulkey from Korea.
And over here in the bottom left, we have our Protoss player, the only one left in the Final Four. He is
Wongjin Stars SOS from Korea.
Okay.
all right.
Time to see what these guys want to do, Tasteless. I do want to point out real quick that SOS is actually going for a Forge expand, and this guy basically always goes Gateway expand. So already mixing it up a little bit against his teammate that knows him so well.
And, you know, that's an important thing to note. They're teammates, so there's going to be mind games we won't even be able to fully see because we don't get to watch these guys practice all day.
Yeah, and in fact, the mind games can get to be so much that the games can sometimes not even look that good. For instance, if there's a series you guys totally don't want to watch but want to hear me talk about for 1 second, it's our round of 4 match from GSL between these two. Because it was not the level that you would normally expect them at, being teammates, playing against each other. Things were going on that, you know, we can't possibly understand.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. All right, so I know we got a lot of new viewers here, and I want to make this broadcast as accessible as possible. So let's talk about this map for a second. The map is Whirlwind. Whirlwind is the biggest map in StarCraft 2. This map is huge. So big maps like this generally tend to favor the Zerg because the Zerg always has to be up in an expansion. And having a greater distance to travel to try to deny the Zerg that expansion gives Zerg an advantage. Now, luckily for our Protoss player here, they're both sharing the left side of the map. SOS would be at a considerably bigger disadvantage had he spawned in the bottom right, for instance.
Yeah. And, you know, because it is such a big map, as you said, Tasteless, and it is a 4-player map, Soulkey has actually gone hatch first. So he's opened up with a really nice build order against what SOS has done, because SOS has done nothing that can possibly punish that. And the quicker you get those hatcheries out, the later that you start making your actual army units, such as Zerglings, the better off your economy is going to be.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely well said. Now, you know, the Protoss, of course, is going to finish up his wallet. He's going to get a cybernetics core, and that's really where the various builds you can do start to branch out. When the cybernetics core is done, we wait to see what does the Protoss make after that. Does he make a Stargate, which is probably the most typical thing to do? Does he make a robotics facility? Does he make Twilight Council? And then we know what he's going to do. With the Zerg, what we want to really try to follow here is is he mining gas, and is he going to continue to mine gas? And then 2, how many drones is he going to make versus how many Zerglings? You know, when it comes to Zerg, they actually operate considerably differently from Terran and Protoss in the sense that everything besides the Queen comes from larva.
Yeah.
And so it's really this balancing act of, if I'm making drones, I'm not making any attacking units. If I'm making attacking units, I'm not making any drones. So it's a real tightrope walk, especially against a good player like SOS, who's incredibly sneaky and is able to make you think you're going to be attacked when you're not. So you definitely want to watch out for that.
Yeah. Well, it is a Stargate opening, as you said, Tasteless. Not too surprised there. This is the bread and butter of the matchup. Now, the real question is, will this be some sort of Sky Toss build, or is it just going to be a little bit of air harassment?
Yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. That Overlord is just barely out of view of that Stargate warping in. He will eventually send an Overlord in there to see what's going on. It's always worth it for Zerg to sack 1 to 2 Overlords to get a little bit more intel.
Well, Phoenix is going to be chrono boosted out here. There's no +1 attack on the way, and there is a sentry being produced, so it's not like we're going to see a really hyper-aggressive Zealot Phoenix attack.
Yeah, I got to agree with that. Looks like the 3rd hatchery is almost done. Right now, the Zerg is cranking out a lot of drones here. Warp Gate is on the way, and we're going to have a Void Ray coming out of that Stargate.
All right, this is really interesting. The single Phoenix is actually some misinformation. It's going to fly around, kill Overlords, stop the scouting of Soulkey. But with the Void Ray on the way, it looks like SOS might go for Sky Toss here.
Yeah, it looks like that's going to be the case. And if he's going to be going for Sky Toss, I'm really interested in seeing when is he going to get that air attack upgrade. Is he going to get that right after Warp Gate? And if so, is he going to be able to hide the fact that he's getting that upgrade? Because, I mean, once you get Warp Gate, it's rare to upgrade out of the Cybernetics core, and if you do see it, it is going to be Sky Toss. And if a Zerg knows that Sky Toss is coming, he has some time to prepare. That makes a big difference, because one of the advantages of Sky Toss is if you can catch them off guard.
Well, the Phoenix is going to continue to scout, and it looks like right now SOS getting ready to take that third base. The Zerglings snipe the probe. Very good move there. Definitely worth a few Zerglings to slow down the third base from warping in.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a fairly typical Protoss opener that we're seeing because of the Mothership Core's presence. This is one of the things that's changed from Wings of Liberty to Heart of the Swarm, is that a Mothership Core can actually drive out Zerglings. So, unless the Zerg makes, 20, 25 Zerglings and comes down and tries to take out that expansion, there's really not a lot that the Zerg can do about it. And even then, if you make that many Zerglings, again, it's that balancing act between drones and attacking units. So you got to be very careful.
Well, we got a couple Stargates coming up, Tasteless. A lot of Lings coming down towards his third base, though, and he's going to want to save this. If he loses this base, that's going to be very painful.
Now, if you guys know, the pylon and the cannon, they're actually warping in exactly touching the Nexus. These are these little subtle things that give those Lings not a lot of surface area. And of course, he has that sentry with force fields as well. And SOS's defense is airtight. He is going to go untouched so far.
Certainly, but we do have that Infestor tech on the way, Tasteless. Pathogen glands coming up, so his Infestors can get off more fungal growths. And that does very well against Sky Toss. He's also getting the Spire, and I wonder, is this going to be for Mutalisks, or is this going to be for Corruptors?
Yeah, I'm really curious myself. All right, so he's going to get getting matched Void Rays. This is actually something I messed around with a lot early on in Heart of the Swarm. And
I really like it on this map.
Yeah, it's really good because I feel like any kind of conventional Protoss play on this map doesn't really allow you to get an edge. That ground army just can't quite get there quick enough. And another sign of Sky Toss, by the way, upgrading shields.
Yeah, very true. He's going to have so many Void Rays popping out very soon, but 5 Infestors are on the way, so if he gets caught in a clump with those Void Rays, things can go very poorly. Now, will we be seeing Mutalisks or Corruptors? That is the big question here, and either one can work in conjunction with those fungal growths.
Now, what the Zerg's doing is so smart. He sees, okay, Sky Toss, you're making a bunch of Void Rays. Well, those things aren't fast. That means I'm going to punish you by double expanding over there to the upper right. Let's say those Void Rays go out and try to attack those expansions at the upper right. Bam, counterattack, Protoss in a lot of trouble. So the Protoss has to be very careful. When you do builds like this, it's kind of hard to explain. It's like you end up behind for a period of time, but if you get enough Void Rays, you suddenly have such a powerful army. If the Zerg didn't do everything perfectly back at home, you could simply put loose.
Very well put, Tasteless. It definitely takes a while for this army to really kick in, but he just finished up his Templar Archive, so he's going to have Psystorm pretty soon here, as well as feedbacks. He's getting charge, a lot more gateways as well, and starting to upgrade his Zealots. So it's going to be a very strong army, and an army that we actually see from SOS quite often.
Now, he's bringing the Mothership Core with this. That's going to be great if he wants to recall back home. Charging that up and picking up the Infestor with a Phoenix. That layer getting very low. It looks like it's going to go down.
Oh, some great lifts by this Phoenix. He prevented 2 fungal growths that could have hit him. And in fact, he might get the spawning pool as well. And don't forget, he can just warp right out of here. That was a beautiful move by SOS.
Absolutely beautiful. That's going to stifle the upgrades for the Zerg too. So this is really bad news right now for our Zerg player, losing that main hatchery. Those Infestors, I gotta say, not in the best position when that attack happened. And when you look at that, obviously the Void Rays have to go to the closest location possible. To do the damage they need to do, and I'm
surprised he didn't have something there, like an Overlord, a Zergling, something to tell him that was going to happen. So definitely a mistake there by Soulkey, but he is switching into Mutas now. We'll see if he can get something done. They definitely are quicker than Void Rays, but you have to be very careful. If you actually fight the Void Rays head up, you have to crush them.
One of the problems, all that stuff, okay, these links are going to be driven out. One of the problems when you go Mutas, it's kind of the same problem that SOS was going to have earlier on with just Void Rays. The Mutas can only be in one place at a time. So these Zealots can actually come up here and start hitting these expansions. The Mutas have to go back and defend. But of course, that would also possibly allow this air attack to go somewhere else and hit again, and then he simply recalled back.
Yeah. That is the beauty behind the strategy, Tasteless. The Mothership Core flying around with those Void Rays, they can just go anywhere for defense and escape after overcommitting what would have been in the past overcommitting to attacks.
Really nice positioning there with that Zealot army. And as I said, with the Zealots attacking the location we have right over here, he can also push forward with the Sky Toss and Zealot army on the ground. And I don't know if Soulkey is going to last much longer here.
Yeah, it's not looking like it. We could have some big feedbacks going off, and he does get them all. Only a single fungal going down, and now the Muta's all clumped up. Oh, a little bit sloppy there from Soulkey, and another good storm from SOS with these Archons. He's definitely dead.
Yeah, that's going to be it. GG, absolutely brilliant play. Damn.
Very solid by SOS.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
I do have to say, Soulkey, he should have had something looking for that Void Ray attack. That's exactly what the Void Rays want to do, is run straight in, snipe something, and beam out.
Yeah. If he had maybe one or two Infestors there just waiting in that main.
Oh, yeah.
You
freeze them before they even hit the hatch.
Exactly, and then you could just start chain fungling.
Yeah.
And then
they have to warp out.
Yeah.
There's no other choice there. But I did like how SOS brought the one Phoenix, because he picked up the first Infestor that came, targeted it, and it didn't get its fungal. And then he did it one more time as well, so he prevented a lot of damage from being done.
When we look at a map like Whirlwind, that's a map we always say is a Zerg map. So when you see him lose on the first map, the Zerg map, you got to say Soulkey's in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, he is in a lot of trouble, Tasteless. I do have to say, SOS, very standard, very good play, but Soulkey with a few mistakes there.
Yeah, I could not agree more. We're going to be going into game number 2 momentarily. Do we know the map, Artosis?
The map is going to be Neoplanet S.
Okay.
This one can get a little bit crazy. Like, for instance, Sky Toss, not very good on this map, really. The third base is pretty hard to hold, especially against big, like, Roach Hydra type attacks. So you have to be very careful. We see a lot of 2 bases here from Protoss, and if they take that third base, they have to be super careful against just a big 3-base max Zerg attack.
Yeah, the weird thing about this map is that there are 2 lanes. Let's say you're starting at the bottom left. There's one that would go up and one that goes to the right. So counterattacks from the Zerg are still very strong. We're going to go in-game now and cast his second match and see if SOS is going to continue to dominate or if Soulkey is going to start engineering a comeback.